This is a basic introduction to exponential equation. So exponential equation, there's quite a variety using different technique. So some of the exponential equation will fall under A math category. So the one that we are doing right now will be the basic, super basic one. So the meaning of exponential equation means the unknown, or rather the x is in the power. So we call it exponential equation when x is in the power, x is not the base. So in an exponential equation, right, you need to make sure that the base are identical. So you need to make sure that the base are identical. And then you are hiding the x in the power. So x is hidden in the star and the moon. So can you see the two symbol? So in the star and in the moon, right, there could be unknown that we want to solve. The unknown can come in linear format. The unknown can come in quadratic format, but doesn't matter, it is still in the power. So the strategy is to make same base so that we can compare the star and the moon. So during the comparison with the star and the moon, that's where we solve the x. So this is provided that there's only one base on the left and one base on the right. Because if we continue the more difficult version, you will have more than one base. So that something else will happen already. Okay, so this is the foundation idea. So I'm going to use like 3 basic examples. So the first one is quite easy. So the first one is something where some students don't even do any working. So it'll be good to do some working, and you got to be sensitive to this kind of numbers like 64. You can punch calculator. How is 64 related to base 2? So you do some trial and error. So you do some trial and error, you realize that that's 2 to a power of 6. So right now, when I got the same base, right, I can simply conclude that x is equal to 6. So I'm actually comparing the power. So the same base allow us to compare power. So that is the whole big picture of doing an exponential equation. So you cannot compare powers when the base are different. It doesn't make sense. So for example 1, I only need to change the right side to base 2. So in example 2, you got to be sensitive that 2 is 2 cubed, 16 is 2 4. So in this situation, you got to change both. When you change both, you will encounter some indices rules. So this is the double power rules. The double power rules will get you to multiply. And I get to same base. So I can compare the powers. So all these are pretty easy. Sometimes the issue will be, I can't even change to the same power, or you make careless mistake. Otherwise, it will be quite easy. So in example 3, we got more things to make same power. So you should be sensitive that 25 is 5 squared, 125 is 5 cubed. So you should be aware that it can be changed like this. And that will lead us to same base multiplication. Same base multiplication means I'm adding up the power. So again, same base. So I can compare. The equation is usually quite easy, even though sometimes they can put a quadratic equation or quadratic expression in the power. It's still quite possible. Okay, so this will be the basic idea Okay, some of the more difficult one will be like something. Okay, I can show you some generic example. So maybe sometimes we got this kind of question. We got a 1. So anytime you got something 1, right? And what base are you supposed to change? Remember, you got a to the power 0, the power 0 rule. So that would be a good way to use it. That means it's flexible enough to change to any base. So same base. I can change 1 to a lot of base, but in this situation, of course, I'll change to base 7 so that I can enable the same base. Okay, another one that a lot of people couldn't do, right, where is something where it involves fraction. So sometimes where we got something like this, a lot of people couldn't do. So those who couldn't do, because you might not relate to this rule. So you might not relate that this half is actually 2 minus 1. So this part here, I will change to 2 square. So these are the rules that sometimes it give you mind block. Okay, so also sometimes the square root rules. So I just scribble somewhere. So for example, I can have something like 5x is equal to square root 125. Okay, apparently we know 125 is 5 cubed. But sometimes we might forget that square root is a half. So do you remember square root is a power half and cube root is a power 1/3. Then I apply my double power. So in your head, you should have some weak rules. You know, you tend to be weaker in certain rules. So some people has the square root 1 as a weaker rule. Some people, a lot of people a lot of students, right, they are weak in fraction. Whenever they see fraction, they couldn't relate. So they end up not able to change. Okay, so there are some very difficult ones, which I will not show here yet. So because this is just a basic foundation, the difficult one will come later. Okay, so that is the generic idea behind exponential equation in E-math, elementary math.